Dan Leach back here in Chicago at Benzinga's Cannabis Capital Conference. My pleasure to be joined by the CEO of FLUENT, Robert Beasley. Great to see you.
Thank you so much.
What a conference, what a time to be alive in this industry, isn't it?
It is. It's exciting. This is my fourth Benzinga, and they get better and better every year. The nature of the interaction is more increased, more enhanced, and there's just a general excitement in the industry right now.
Well, it's my first. I thought you were going to say you were more excited because you got to meet me at your fourth conference.
That too. That as well.
Really cool story we were talking about before we started here is, I'm a big, the Phoenix in the Louvre in Paris, rising from the ashes. That's kind of the story of FLUENT in a way, isn't it?
It is. It is. FLUENT was a first-generation cannabis company. It went very broad and not so deep, and suffered from that. It took a year or two or three to build it back. We grew by contraction. We cut off all the dead ends and went deep in Florida, and that paid off. A little luck along with our hard work. COVID actually helped us out, and so we were able to build and rise from the bottom of the stack to number 6 in Florida, and then use that growth and that energy to start to expand. One of the funny things is we recently did a deal in New York. And everyone kind of heard rumors, even though it wasn't supposed to get out, that we were going to do a deal. But the big surprise turned out we were buying. We weren't selling. And prior to that, everyone expected us to be kind of on the roadside and picked up. But we're back. We're bigger than ever, and we're growing now.
Yeah, sometimes the good guys need a little luck, right? That's the way. that's right. The way it should be. And talk about New York. I know it's an important place for you, and obviously what you guys have, with your forward thinking with what FLUENT wants to do there.
Yeah, well, we're in Texas, we're in Florida, and New York's the next big state. California's a little scary for us, and so we'll probably stay away from it. But our New York and Florida share a population. We've already had a lot of energy of our customers in Florida saying, hey, where do I get your stuff in New York? Because I spend part of my time up there. It's vertical. The license that we purchased, the Attain license, is a vertical license. We know vertical. We know how to do it. It's very, very difficult to be efficient in vertical, but once you figure it out, right, and you get all of those segments right, it can be the winning answer. And so there's a lot of New York that's like Florida, the size of the state. What's also very interesting is New York City is, with the competition issue with the illicit market, is very similar to what we see in Miami. And so we got a taste of it. We understand it a little bit. We understand how to play along. And so we think that the challenges in New York are things that we can deal with and we're used to. And the upside of New York is tremendous. We also think we got in right at the right time. New York it was a failure to launch for lots of reasons. A lot of well-intended regulations and such that just actually on the ground didn't work out as well. But I was just at Revelry in New York. It's 3 times the size in its 3rd year that it ever has been.
Wow.
And the energy is super positive. New York's moving.
Yeah, there are by the way, a lot of Yankee fans down in Florida, so
that's
a lot
right.
of connections. But let's talk about Florida. Obviously, big proposal coming up on the ballot in November. I'm not going to ask you to make a prediction because that would be fair, but just your feeling on the proposal 3, obviously vote yes on 3, and what that could lead to in Florida.
Right, so it comes up as a constitutional amendment, which is an incredibly high burden to jump over. However, the positive indications are, one, we've got a presidential year and the Democrats really need to push in Florida, and so that will help. Abortion's on the ballot in Florida.
Yep.
Abortion's a red hot issue. No matter which side you fall on, you're going to come vote for it. And so we just need warm bodies at the polls, and that's what gets you your 60+%. So when it passes, and I believe it will, I'll make that prediction. I believe it will. My concern is then there's a long legislative implementation phase we've got to go through, and the fact is that a constitutional amendment is a legislative workaround anyway. Like if 60% of the people in Florida wanted it, the legislature should have passed it.
Right.
So we know there's going to be resistance. We know there's going to be a lot of challenges in that, but ultimately, in the end of the day, it may take some time. Florida flips into an adult use state, which is tremendous for our business. Right now we only have about 890,000 customers in Florida. And as new MSOs have come in, new stores have come on, mergers have occurred, the industry the service side, the supply side has grown, but the demand side has been fairly flat. And so we're all competing for that market share.
Right.
FLUENT's done very well, but there is a limit to it. There's a limit to how many customers. And cannabis customers, especially medical, they're sticky. When they get a product and a service they like, they stay there. And so then we have the advertising limitations in Florida, so we can't even really reach them. And so it's tough. It's a tough way to grow right now. there's that issue of new licenses being issued in Florida. I would be terrified to get a new license in Florida right now, coming into the field. When we came in, there were only 5 of us, and it was a brand new program, and it was tough, and it was frontier work, but we weren't staring at 100 and something stores for one competitor and several hundred stores, and we weren't staring at efficient operators like we are now. So it would be tough to start now in Florida as a new licensee.
Yeah, but let's say, obviously, and I hope you're right, and I believe it's going to pass too. Let's say that happens, and obviously you look even in a more macro situation where nationwide rescheduling, all the things that could really lead to this industry continuing to emerge, but at a very high rate. How do you feel like Fluent fits into that? How do you see that happening?
Well, these Horizon events, it's a rare industry. We have multiple Horizon events, legislative and political, and they're all positive. Though really only negative is the win. And so, the rescheduling, I think the rescheduling has a lot of dark side to it that we all got to be careful for and we got to pay attention to. But ultimately, competition and efficient operators will prevail. What the rescheduling does for me personally at Fluent is it allows us access to capital. The capital markets expand tremendously. We become legitimate. There's still that air of being an illegal operator that is a little bit of a taint on us. And for me, I've never been in an industry. I don't know that I've ever been doing anything illegally, and now I'm doing it at scale. And so it'd be nice to be recognized as a legitimate enterprise that follows legitimate rules and regulations and provides a valuable product. And that's what cannabis is. Whether it's adult use or otherwise, it's still a product that the consumers can safely consume if it's properly regulated. Rescheduling, I think, really recognizes that and brings us out of the dark finally.
No, I think you make a great point because, you don't want to be in the shadows when this is something that's so positive for so many people in so many different ways.
That's right.
Robert Beasley, the CEO of Fluent, an amazing and fascinating conversation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for joining me, and some really great times ahead for you guys.
All right, thanks for having me on.
The pleasure's all mine.